Getting its own fancy edition is The Mummy from Second Sight Films. We'll take off the J card to start with, list of the features in the back. Let's have a look at this wonderful design again. We've got Christopher Lee down here, and Christopher Lee here, and some Peter Cushing there. Plain back on this one, we've got the Mummy across the side, Hammer logo down here next to the Second Sight. Let's just take this hard box off and have a look at what's inside. First up, we've got the Mummy case, houses the disc, and a list of the special features on the back. We also have this 48-page booklet, giving us the cast and crew and some essays that are inside. Christopher Lee rising from the swamp. And of course, always good production credits and acknowledgements. Some art cards here, utilising some film stills, some of the original artwork, and of course the new artwork as well. Released in 1959 from Hammer Studios is The Mummy, directed by the always great Terence Fisher. This Second Sight film release is another fantastic addition to the Hammer movies that are being currently released just now. And I think this one is particularly fun. We get Peter Cushing in a lead role, and we get Christopher Lee in the same film, which is always great to see these team up of people here, especially when Christopher Lee is playing the Mummy. And the story this time around starts off in an archaeological dig. So familiar, but so wonderfully set up. It's great sets and production values, and they're well lit so you can see everything. Although they do look a little bit like sets, you still appreciate the craftsmanship that's going into show here.
He who robs the graves of Egypt dies. Now, for the last time, please stop what you're doing and leave this place.
And for the last time, kindly mind your own business.
And we have a group of people disturbing a burial site and falling under the curse of the Mummy. Some people die, some people don't. We go back to England, so we've had a little jaunt, and we get to introduce to Peter Cushing's character, John Banning, who was part of the archaeological dig, who understands that something is happening to everybody that was there, and it's just a case of basically John catching up with the viewer to figure out what exactly is taking this down. But what I do love about this is a little bit of backstory we get to the actual Mummy.
Death was not for Caris, nor was life. For his sins he was sentenced to remain for all time on guard near the body of his princess.
It's not just a case of, well, it can be the unstoppable beast returning to get vengeance, but it's also controlled by someone. And there's also a reason as to why the person became the Mummy. And that's where we get a wonderful flashback sequence to show Lee in like wonderful clothing, costuming, and the great sets as he's performing some rituals in ancient Egypt. And it's just really fun sequences that really highlight a lot of playfulness within the film. The characters themselves are given enough to really kind of flesh out some of them. We know John is main character. We understand why the Mummy has become the person he is, and we get a kind of quasi antagonist in the form of the person that's controlling the Mummy, but that's more just a caricature of a villain just because. But I do like when it goes back to England. At first I was like, oh no, we're going to lose some of the sort of production value. But again, it sort of delves into that rich atmosphere that Hammer movies can so greatly achieve. You get this kind of unusual idea of the countryside and this Mummy traversing it, which I really kind of liked as well. There's a certain kind of theatrical element to it. Everything feels manufactured. The sets look like sets, but they look really intricate and they're wonderful to look at. The set pieces feel produced in certain ways, and I kind of like it as well. There's even a moment later on where we have many moments where we have our Egyptian bad guy talking to the Mummy. So exposition, but it's kind of fun, and it's always shot in a really easy to look at and interesting manner that kind of highlights the film's playfulness, I would say.
Destroy the second of the infidels who dare to desecrate the tomb of your princess.
I really liked The Mummy. I thought it was incredibly fun. It moved with some quick pacing. We had some characters that had a little bit more meat to them than some other Hammer movies that I've seen. You get a wonderful mummy performance from Christopher Lee, who even while acting with basically just his eyes for most of the scene and his body movement, offers up a wonderful take on The Mummy.
Kill her, Caris. Kill her!
Particularly like the backstory and why that's given as to why he became the mummy. I feel like that adds a little bit more to it as well. I think the production set pieces are really interesting. I think the fact one down point is we're constantly waiting on Cushing's character to catch up to the point where we're already at. Could be the history of the movies, could be the fact that we already know the movie's called The Mummy. We're just waiting on that character realising exactly what's going on. But it's not enough to detract from the film. It is incredibly fun, it's incredibly endearing, it's incredibly watchable. Cushing, Lee together in The Mummy, directed by Terence Fisher, who does his usual fantastic job. Absolutely loved it. Let's dive into the extras and see what else this has to offer. So here we are in the disc for The Mummy. Let's go over to the extras. First up, we have a new audio commentary by film academic Kelly Robinson. We have an archival audio commentary by Marcus Hearn and Jonathan Rigby. We have an appreciation of The Mummy by David Huckvale at 10 minutes 10 seconds. Basically talking about why he loves The Mummy as much as he does. Kind of going into a little bit of how it came to be and how Jimmy Saxter put the script together. Next up we have the music of The Mummy, which is 9 minutes 40, talking about the composer and how he achieved the music that he did for the film. Next up we have Unwrapping the Mummy, which is 29 minutes 53, and it kind of is a little bit of a history of Hammer for a little bit before it moves into The Mummy. It's really kind of one of those fascinating extras. Next up we have The House of Horror, Memories of Bray, talking about Bray Studios, and this was the longest extra at 48 minutes 55 seconds, and it was super fascinating. Lots of behind the scene footage, lots of pictures, lots of interviews with various people who were there and people who are just fans of it. Terrific extra. Next up we have the Hammer Rep Company, which is 14 minutes 59 seconds. It's hosted by Jonathan Rigby as he talks about some of the more familiar and lesser known character actors that perpetrated Hammer movies. Then we have the original promo reel at 5 minutes 55 and a stills gallery, and that's the extras for The Mummy. So there we go, The Mummy out on second sight disc. Another sterling package yet again. Highly recommended for those Hammer movie fans out there. It's a must own. For everyone else who likes classic horrors, pick it up. It's amazing. As always, there's more content up here. You can see more of my stuff. If you are interested, don't forget to hit the like button below this video. Maybe join the Patreon or the membership program. The links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on ManVFilm.